Yeah, here is an error. Instead of this, we have to pass the activity context. So use the get activity method instead of this. Okay. Now we set up the adapter for the list view. Now we have to add this adapter into the list view. So list view dot set adapter, and pass the adapter object. Here it is, adapter. Okay. Now we have to create an on-click listener for the list view item selection. So whenever user select the item from the list view, that means if the user select an headline, we have to display the corresponding news article on the article fragment. So here I am going to add an on-click listener for the list view that dot set on item click listener, on item click listener. Okay, so here we have to pass the selected headline into the next fragment, that means the article fragment. So the article fragment will display the news article corresponding to the user selection. Okay, so here we need to establish a communication between fragment 1 to fragment 2, that means the headline fragment and the article fragment. So for establishing the connection between these two fragments, we have to specify some interfaces on this on the first fragment. The first fragment is the headline fragment. So here I am going to specify an interface, public interface. I name it as on headline click listener. Okay, now here I am going to specify an abstract method for this interface, public void headline selected. Okay, and with a string argument, string headline. So by using this interface, the first fragment, headline fragment, can establish a communication between the article fragment, news article fragment. Okay, so now we have to override the onAttach method to get the implementation of this interface. So onAttach. Also we have to create an instance for this interface on headline click listener. So first here I am going to create an instance for the interface on headline click listener, name it as on headline click listener. So here I am going to initialize that instance variable on headline click listener equal to activity. Typecast this one into on headline click listener and insert this one in a try catch block. So we can check whether the activity implement this interface or not. So catch exception E. Okay. Okay, there is some errors are available here. Extra bracket is present. Remove that extra bracket. Okay. Now we specify an interface on the headline fragment. So by using this interface, the headline fragment can establish a communication between the article fragment. Okay. So two fragments are communicate through an activity. So we have to implement this interface through the main activity. So open up the main activity.java file. There is no need of these options menu. Okay, here I am going to implement the interface, implements. on headline click listener. Now we have to override the method, implement methods, headline selected, and click OK. Now here the method is overridden. Okay, so by using this method, the headline fragment can communicate through the article fragment. Okay, so now we set up the two fragments and we provide an interface on the headline fragment for establishing the communication. Okay, so here first we are going to configure the application appearance on a large display. So in a large display on the activity main.xml file, we have to display two fragments. But in the case of a small display, we have to display only one fragment, that is the headline fragment. But in the case of a large display, we have to display the two fragments side by side. So we have to add a two fragment into the activity main.xml file corresponding to the layout large directory. So open this one, activity main.xml file. So we need to add two fragments into this layout. Now here I am going to add two fragments into this layout. Okay, now here I add two fragments into the activity main.xml file present in the layout large directory, because the Android system will automatically select the launcher activity layout file from the layout large directory if the display device is large. Okay, so in the case of a large display, we have to display two fragments. The first fragment will display the headlines and the second fragment will display the news articles. So here the layout is a linear layout and the orientation is horizontal. And here is the first fragment and here is the second fragment. So now we have to specify the class for the fragments. So here I am going to specify the class for the first fragment. The first fragment is the headline fragment, so specify the headline class. So headline fragment is the class corresponding to the first fragment. Now we have to specify the class for the second fragment. So class equal to article fragment. Okay. So in the case of a large display, the Android system will select the activity main.xml from the layout large directory that contain two fragments, the headline fragment and the article fragment. So now we have to specify the communication between these two fragments. So here on the headline fragment, open up the headline fragment class. We already specify the interface on headline click listener, and on the main activity we already override implement the interface and we override the needed method headline selected. Okay, now go to the headline selection, headline fragment. So if the user select a headline from the list view, we have to pass the corresponding headline to the main activity. So here whenever user select an item from the list view, this method will invoke. On item click, this method will invoke. So first here we have to find out which heading is actually selected by the user. So string heading equal to, we can get the heading from the string resource from this array, string array headlines. So headlines of position. This will return the selected headline. Okay, now we have to pass the selected headline to the override method on the main activity, that means headline selected. Okay, for passing the data to the main activity, we have to use the instance of the interface on headline click listener. So on headline click listener dot headline selected heading, pass the value heading. Okay, so this data is now available on main activity.java. Now the data is available on this method. So now from this method we have to pass this information to the second fragment, that means the article fragment. So now go to the article fragment and close all these files. Now open article fragment. Now open the layout for the article fragment. Here the layout is article fragment layout. So here we have to display the heading using this text view with ID, heading text ID, and we have to display the news contents using this text view with ID, description ID, DESC ID. Okay, so now we have to initialize, we have to create two text view objects. So text view headline, name it as head text, and description text. Okay, now we have to initialize these two text views. So the first one is header text equal to view dot find view by ID, or dot ID dot heading text ID. Typecast this one into text view. Okay, now the second text view equal to view dot find view by ID, r dot ID dot description ID. Also typecast this one into text view. Okay, so here on the strings.xml file I already added a string array that contains some news article information. The string array name is news contents. Okay, so we have to create a string. So string array article. Now get the value from the strings.xml file. So article equal to get resources dot get string array, r dot array dot news contents. Okay, now we have to create a method for updating the information on this fragment. So create another method, public void update info with a string argument. I name it as headline. Okay, so whenever user select a heading from the list view, we got the headline through this argument. So now we have to set the headline for the text view. So first we have to check which headline is actually selected by the user. Here the headlines are headline 1, headline 2 up to headline 7. Copy this one, headline 1. So now here we have to check the headlines. So I just remove this code segment and paste it here. Okay, so now we have to check each of these headlines. If headline dot equals, if it is equal to headline 1, copy this one. In that case, we are going to set the head text into header text dot set text news headline 1. Okay, now we have to set some news articles. So description text dot set text. There is only one item is available on the string array, news contents. So we got that particular item from the 0th index of the string array. So article of 0th index. Okay. Now we have to specify condition for other headings, else if and specify the condition if it is equal to headline 2. The same thing, only we have to change the headline into news headline 2. Now copy the same code segments. If it is headline 3, we have to change that one into headline 3. One more thing, headline 4, if it is headline 4, change this one into headline 4. Okay, that's enough. So now go to the main activity.java, open up the headline fragment. So if the user select a headline from the list view, we just pass that particular heading to the main activity, to the override method. So from this override method, we have to pass the information to the article fragment. So first we have to create an object of article fragment. I name it as article fragment equal to get fragment manager. So one more thing, go to the activity main.xml file. Here the ID of the first fragment is the headline frag and the ID for the second fragment is article frag. Okay. So get fragment dot find fragment by ID or dot ID dot. The ID for the second fragment is article frag. We need to typecast this one into article fragment. Okay. So by using this object, we can call the method, update method on the article fragment. So article fragment dot update info and pass the headline. So this will update the second fragment available on the large display. So whenever user select a headline from the first fragment, this will update the news contents on the second fragment. Okay. So now we configure the application for a large display device. But now we have to configure the same application for a small display. So in the case of a small display, the launcher activity, that means the launcher layout, contain only one fragment, that is the headline fragment. So now we have to create another activity for a small display device. So create a new activity, create a new Android activity, Android blank activity, and here I am going to name it as article activity, and the layout name is article activity layout. Okay, and click finish. Now we add a new activity to the application. So this activity will display the article fragment for a small device. So now we have to add a fragment, the first fragment, that means the headline fragment, into this layout file. Now here I am going to add the headline fragment into this layout file. Okay, now here I add the first fragment, the headline fragment, into the activity, into the layout file for the newly created activity. Now we have to specify the class for this fragment. So class equal to headline fragment. Okay. Now we have to find out whether the device is a large one or a small display. So go to the main activity. So in the case of a small device, in the case of a small display, the Android system will automatically select the layout file from the layout directory. That means the activity main.xml file that contain only one fragment, that is the headline fragment. So if the device is with a small display, it will show only the first fragment, headline fragment. But in the case of a large display, the Android system will automatically select the layout file from the layout large directory. So that layout contain two fragments. The first fragment will display the headline and the second fragment will display the news articles. Okay. So now we have to when the user, in the case of a small device, it will show only the headlines. So the user can select the headline, and if the user select the headline, we have to display the next activity. But in the case of a large display, the fragments are side by side. We have to just pass the information to the next fragment. But here in the case of a small display, we have to show the next activity that contain the next fragment. Okay, so we already specify the next fragment on the article activity layout. So here we got a mistake. It is not headline fragment, it is article fragment, because the second activity, the newly created activity, will show the news article. Okay, now go to the main activity. So if the user select a particular item from the list view, this method will invoke. So the interface, the override method will invoke. So first here we have to find out whether the display is large or small. So if the second fragment is already loaded, that means the headline article fragment is loaded, that means the display is a large display. But if the object corresponding to the article fragment is null, that means the display is a smaller one. So we can find out here, we can check it out here. If article fragment equal to null, that means the display is smaller. Other case, we have to update the information on the next fragment. So if the article fragment is null, we have to call the next activity that contain the article fragment. Okay, so create an object of intent, name it as intent equal to new indent, this, and specify the class name. Here the class name is article activity dot class. Also we have to pass the headline to the indent. So indent dot put extra, first specify the key for the headline. So I name it as headline and pass the headline value. Here the value is headline. Okay, now we can call the second activity. So indent dot start activity and pass the indent object indent. This will call the second activity, that means the article activity. No need of these options menu. So from this activity we have to update the informations on the article fragment. So first we have to get the heading. So string heading. First we have to create an object of indent equal to get indent. Now heading equal to indent dot get extra and specify the key. Here the key name is headline. Yeah, it is not bundle extra, it is get extras. I think it is get string extra. Yeah, this one. Okay, now it's correct. Okay, now we have to pass this heading into the second activity, article fragment. So first we have to create an object of article fragment. Name it as article fragment equal to get fragment manager. Get fragment manager dot find fragment by id or dot id dot go to the activity corresponding layout corresponding to this activity. So article activity, here the article fragment id is headline frag. That is wrong. I changed that one into article frag. Yeah, this one. So r.id dot article fragment, typecast this one into article fragment. Okay, now we can call the update method. So article fragment dot update info and pass the heading. This will update the fragment available on the newly created activity. So now we finish the coding. Now we can test the application. So here, in the case of a large display, the Android system will automatically select the activity main.xml file available on the large directory that contain two fragments. The first fragment contains the headline in a list view. So if the user select any heading from the list view, that will automatically update the informations on the article fragment which is available on the right side. But in the case of a smaller device, small display, the Android system will select the normal activity main.xml file that contain only one fragment, that is the headline fragment. So if the user select a heading from the headline fragment, it will call up another activity. So we start the next activity using an indent object. Also we also passing the information into the indent object, and so by using that information, the indent will automatically, the second activity will update the information on the article fragment. Okay, now we can run the application. First, here I am going to run this application on a large display. Okay, now here the same application is available on a large display. This is a tab layout, so there is plenty of space is available. So the Android system will automatically select the layout file from the layout large directory. So that layout contains two fragments. The left fragment is the headline fragment and the right one is the article fragment. So if I made a selection on the headline, this will update the second fragment, the article fragment. So when I select headline 2, this will change the title heading into news headline 2. Now I select headline 3, news headline 3, now change headline 4. There is nothing on headline 5, 6 and 7 because we are not writing any code for it. So this is in the case of a large display. So any device, any screen which is larger than 4 inches is considered as a large display device. But any display less than 4 inch size is considered as a small display device. So now I am going to create another virtual device that is less than 4 inch screen size, and I am going to run the same application on the small device. Okay, before going to run the same application on a small display device, we forget something here. We already placed the second fragment, that means the article fragment, on the activity article layout. So we forget to add the first fragment, that means the headline fragment, into the activity main.xml file. We forget that one. So now here I am going to add the first fragment, the headline fragment, into the activity main.xml file. So this is for a small display device. Okay, now here I add the first fragment, the headline fragment, into the activity main.xml file. And here I am going to specify the class. It is headline fragment. Okay, now we can check the application. Okay, now we have the same application available on a small display device. So now you can see here it will show only the headline fragment. So in this case, the Android system will select the activity main.xml file from the layout file. It is not from the large directory, it is from the layout directory. That means the normal activity main.xml file that contain only one fragment, that is the headline fragment. Okay, so if the user select a heading from this layout, I select the headline 1. Now this will show the activity that contain the article fragment, that means the news headline 1. Now I am going to select headline 2. Now this will display headline 2, the article corresponding to headline 2 in another activity. Okay, so this is how we manage the application appearance in different screen sizes by using the fragment API. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.